Dining with friends and family should be a convivial, fun, and enlightening occasion, but to ensure that you feel as confident and comfortable as possible, as well as to help others feel at ease and appreciated, you should always endeavor to follow the rules of dining etiquette. Table manners have evolved over centuries to make the practice of eating with others pleasant and sociable. Whether you've been invited to a dinner party or you're going out to eat, brushing up on your table manners is a good way to prepare. Having table manners can have and leave a great impression on your fellow guests, and it will help everyone feel happy and comfortable as they enjoy their meal. There are a few essential manners and tips that can help you to understand and navigate the table setting comfortably and confidently. Which utensils go with which food? How do you hold a fork correctly in your left hand? Where do you put your napkin if you have to leave the table? Remember this etiquette at dinner table so you can enjoy delicious food and fun time with friends and family members. Hello and welcome to another week and another day here on Lunch Global. I am Chunk Annamel Joseph. We'll be right back after the break, so stay tuned. Welcome back from the break. It is very, very necessary and important for us to learn certain etiquettes, and not just learn, it has to stick to our heads. Yes, we understand that we know some of these things and we're trying to be careful, but then, we have to get to revisit this issue because it's like a common thing that happens almost every time. I would say nowadays, when you find yourself hanging out with friends and family or sitting and having lunch with your loved ones, basically, we are so used to pressing our phones. And I think these are things that we're supposed to really, really, really watch. So for today, we're going to have like those necessary things that we need to learn, because sometimes when you go out and then imagine you're going out to have maybe a dinner meeting or a meeting during lunch and thereabout, and then you are not really presenting yourself very well. Trust me, if you are expecting to have maybe a nice contract, some of your attitude and then how you behave towards the guests there might even affect your relationship with whosoever you're trying to seek that deal from. So you as an individual have to be very, very intentional about your dining etiquette. So first of all, you need to wash your hands before you sit down. You have to make sure your hands are clean before you dig in. Head to the restroom and give your hands a good scrubbing with soap and water before you sit down. If you're teaching table manners to a kid, this is a good time to tell them how long to wash their hands and how hard to scrub. Some fancier restaurants would even bring you a dish of water to dip your hands in. However, this is usually reserved for fine dinings. But then for the fact that, don't say, okay, if I go for dinner or if I'm going out to dine with friends or just to eat your food alone, you have to just, you don't know what you've touched. You don't know. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I didn't do anything. I just washed my hands a few minutes ago. But trust me, you held your phone. You might have touched money. You might have touched maybe your table or something. So you washing your hands is you making sure that your hygiene, your health is always on check. Now, one thing is you're not doing it for any other person. You're doing it for yourself to make sure that you avoid, sometimes we just get easily ill and we're wondering, okay, what is making me sick? Oh, maybe it's malaria, maybe it's typhoid and all of that. But trust me, there are certain things that we're supposed to do for the sake of our hygiene that we ignore all the time. So first thing, when you find yourself in a restaurant or if you're even in your house and you're done cooking and you want to just go to the table and dig in, please try as much as possible to wash your hands. Is very important. And you have to teach your kids that even when you're there, I mean, the younger ones, your younger siblings, your kids, and your friends as well, before you start eating, you have to make sure that before they start eating, you have to make sure that they wash their hands. And once they are used to that, they'll grow up with that habit, and it will help them a whole lot. Now, secondly, is one of the major issues. I call it an issue because it is really an issue. Having to press your phones when you're dining, maybe with friends, or taking calls like that. It's okay to take your call, especially when the call is very important, because there are certain calls that you can't just ignore them. But when you have important calls like that, you can kindly excuse yourself from the setting or from the table, because you're entirely distracting others from eating and actually concentrating on their meal. So first thing, or secondly, you need to put your phone on silence. No one wants to be interrupted by a ringing phone before you head to the table. Put your phone on silence or vibrate and stash it away in a pocket or a purse. If you get an important call, then you can excuse yourself from the table to take it so you don't disturb any other guests. You have to try to keep your phones off the table while you eat. It can be a distraction to keep it so close to the food. Sometimes when you go out, when you go to a dinner, you tend to keep your phones by the side of the table or on the table, and of course your handbags and all that. Sometimes, when you go out to eat and then you're holding your bag, you can easily put your phones into the bag or your phone into the bag and drop it maybe just beside your chair. Down beside your chair. So that makes it, because sometimes, people easily get distracted. You can be on that table and you might be talking to someone, maybe they are just trying to look at your bag, like, what brand of bag is that? Oh, is it the original this or is it the fake this? There are certain form of distractions, and then I don't know, but one thing or the other, trust me, it gets to affect certain relationship, and having to even people would even not remember to be intentional about you, because there's something right in your presence that is really, really distracting them. And maybe you're having conversation with someone and then they are looking lost and all that. You don't know that you're the reason for their distraction. So when you find yourself in a dining, maybe in the dining table or on a table with family, friends, work colleagues, and whatsoever, you have to make sure that your phones are not on the table. And thirdly, you have to wait for everyone to be seated. Don't just say, I've not had lunch, oh, I just closed from work, or you just called me, I was about eating my lunch, but I couldn't eat, I was rushing, so I can't wait for anyone. And then before everyone gets there, you're done eating. Okay, so what happened when others are eating? What will you be doing? Maybe you ask for another extra plate. Imagine you're a young girl and you're doing your girly thing, and then you've already finished your food and then others are eating. You won't even be able to ask for extra plate. You might not be able to eat it, and it will not be right for you to just sit there while others are eating and you are just looking. So you have to wait for everyone to be seated. This includes the host too. If you are at a dinner party, let everyone get settled before you touch your place setting. So the same goes for a restaurant. Once your party is seated, you can start getting settled. If there isn't assigned seating, give the guest an honor or the host the best seat at the table. Usually the seat at the head of the table is what's usually the guest or the person hosting you, gets, right? So everyone else can sit wherever they like to. That's if there's no particular seating allocation. Maybe if there's no name, usually when there's like a dining, there's, oh, this chair is for this is for this. But if there's nothing like that, you feel comfortable to sit anywhere you want, but do not rush. You have to wait for everyone to get seated. When the table is complete and the food is served, then trust me, you can enjoy it. So you have to always enter and leave the dining chair from its right in a restaurant and at a formal dinner. Before doing so, help the ladies be the gentleman on your right or left by pulling her chair back when she starts sitting and pushing it in as well. Men, usually in the military, enter the chair from the left and leave from the right, as formal dinner is considered a parade. So when you're in the military, we know how military, they're just so serious. But then, there's something about being a gentleman. when you, I know I'm a girl, so sometimes, you know, you have to just pick all those lines and all that. It's always interesting for a young man that you don't even know to just pull your chair. You know, you feel so special, you feel so regarded. And for like a lady that will see a man that does that, that will do that to them, you know, there's just something, you just feel a little bit of there's a spark, but I don't mean love spark, you know, but then you feel differently. So if you are in a setting like that, just please be the gentleman. Even if you're not gentle, just try and be gentle for the moment. And next, you have to place your napkin on your lap. So why do you place your napkin on your lap? Maybe you're wearing a white pants or a white dress or any dress at all, so, or any color of clothes that you're wearing. You know, you have to be careful because the food gets to maybe fall on your body. And imagine you're going there for like a proper meeting, or you want to see somebody very, very prominent, or you know, you're expecting something good from them, and then while eating you just pour in palm oil or vegetable oil on your dress, and from there you're just trying to see how you can rush to the restroom to clean your dress before you get to stand up and then maybe probably talk to them one-on-one or something. So the napkin is very important. Why it is there is for you to get to protect any food from falling on your body. So it will catch any food that falls off your fork. Unfold your napkin and gently place it over your entire lap, smoothing it down so it lays flat. You can use your napkin throughout your meal to wipe your hands or your mouth as you need to. The napkin is the very first thing you want to touch when sitting down. If you need to leave the table, put your napkin on the chair, not on the table. It will signal that you're coming back and you aren't finished with your food. So if you just want to excuse yourself, now this brings me to when you have an important call you need to make. Then that's where you can take off your napkin and you can drop it on the chair, so it signifies that, oh, this person hasn't left yet, you're still there. And but on a normal setting, okay, you know, usually what we'll do is we'll tell our neighbor that, okay, I'm coming back, I just want to take my call, or you carry your bag and put it on the chair. But the right thing to do is for you to drop your napkin there instead of dropping it on the table. Then next, you need to pass all the food dishes to the right. If you're serving your own food, keep passing dishes around. Once you've taken enough food, hand the dish off to the person on your right. Try not to reach over anyone to get more food, and politely ask them to pass you a dish if you would like more. If there's bread on the table, cut some off the loaf and offer the pieces to the person on your left before passing it on. So this is so easy. Now, most times, you know, right signifies like respect. Even if you want to pass something to someone, you want to give something to somebody, you know, sometimes when we're trying to give it with our left, we're like, oh, so sorry. And then you're trying to correct it and give it with your right. And that's for you to let them know that, oh, I respect you, and then what I'm giving you is as much as it's valuable to me, and I value you to have it. So you're passing anything using your right is very important. So when you are in a dinner, except if the person asks you and the person is on your left and is asking you to pass them what is right in your presence, you don't have to just pass it to the right person and then it keeps going and then it will come back to the person to your left. You can easily use your right hand and pass it to that person. I think that is better. Next, you don't eat until the host eats. Now, a lot of times, and I'm like, why will I not eat? Okay, what if the host doesn't want to eat yet, and maybe he's in the middle, he's trying to talk to someone? Do I have to wait? Please, yes, you have to wait, because he is your host. He invited you over. You have to wait for him to eat the food. But sometimes they won't even eat. They'll just tell you, okay, everyone, and just enjoy and all of that. So when you get that call, you can just go in and eat. But if you don't, then please just be polite. That's you being polite, and that's why it is important, and we call it etiquette, because it is very, very important. So you don't eat until the host eats. If there is no host, wait for the guest of honor to start eating. Once they take their first bite, you can go ahead and dig in. Some people also like to say grace or make a toast before a meal, so you may have to wait on that too. If you're having food with your family, wait until the person who made the food starts eating. But you know, this one is a problem already, because if I make food and I am not ready on the table, I don't want to eat yet, so what happens? Who will now eat first? Now, but when you are with family, I think it's okay for everyone to get seated because that's the right thing to do. But for the person who makes the food, if the person is there, of course, you tell, okay, go ahead. Or maybe the oldest, maybe your mom or your dad or the oldest sibling that is there can just be the one to just say, okay, let's maybe say grace and then get to eat and all that. But if not, it is still fine. What is most important is for you to allow everyone settles in before you eat. I think there's so much joy when you're eating and enjoying nice meal with your family, your friends, and everyone is eating. I don't know how you all feel, but me personally, I feel so excited to see everyone seated together and enjoying meals together. You know, it just speaks unity, it speaks togetherness, it just speaks of just so much. It made sense just beyond the ordinary imagination, and it makes you even eat better. It makes you eat well. There's this encouragement from others when you see people eating, like, you know, you get to eat better. But when you're alone, sometimes eating is quite difficult because you don't eat the way you want. You don't even eat properly, except if it's something that you've trained yourself to a point where you're trying to be intentional. You're trying to tell yourself that, oh, you have to eat this food, there's nothing you can do about it, you must eat. And sometimes the food doesn't even go. You're just forcing yourself to eat, which is very, very bad, because you end up eating wrong. Either you're eating less calorie or you're eating more calorie, that at the end of the day both of them are not healthy. But then if you're sitting with people and you see everyone enjoying the food, you won't just say, oh, you're not eating or you're trying to be, except if something is bothering you or you're ill or you're not happy or something is upsetting you and all of that. But then when everyone is eating, trust me, that I will eat. That's when I enjoy the food. And you know, that moment when somebody will say, oh, I want more, and somebody else will say, me too, me too, me too. Those moments, they are great moments, trust me. Now, next, you use the utensils from the outside in, not inside. So now this goes to the person who is serving or making the table. When you're making the table, make sure the utensils are not in the plate. Yes, sometimes for content's sake, I think I've seen a lot of people who try to cross the fork and the spoon and the cutlery. Now, this mostly happen when you are done eating. You know, when you're done eating, your utensils are likely to be on the plate, or they should be in the plate or on the plate, because they're already dirty. So putting them back on the table is like you're just trying to put stain and dirt. So at the end of the day, it's just a lot of work. Maybe you have to start washing the napkins again. Of course, you wash them, but then the stains are mean. So I advisably and ideally, and the right thing to do is for you to allow those utensils to go in from outside. So you have to use them from the outside in. Fine dining may have more than one set of utensils if you aren't sure which one to use. A good rule of thumb is just to work from the outside in. As you eat through different courses, you will use different spoons or fork. If you're just at a dinner party with friends and family, you probably won't have to worry about multiple sets of utensils. On your left, the utensils from the outside outside in are the salad fork, the dinner fork, and the dessert fork. On the right, you will have a spoon, a soup spoon, then a teaspoon, then a dinner knife. So the fork is on your left while the spoon is on your right. So that makes it, right? And then the dinner knife is also on your right. So it's easy for you to use your cutlery right. The fork is on your left and the spoon and the knife is on your right. So I think that's even explanatory already. So it's easy for you to know, okay, am I supposed to use my left with the knife, or I'm supposed to use my left with it's quite confusing, but then it's easy to do. Next, you have to keep your elbows off the table. Sometimes, now it has happened to me before, you know, maybe you're trying to relax and then maybe the table is bad, and at the end of the day you decide to just scatter everything that is on the table. How will you even feel? So at all times, try as much as possible to avoid your elbows on the table. You tuck them in by your side while you eat. Putting your elbows on the table takes up a lot of space and it's considered bad manners. If you have any older relatives at the table, they might even call you out on it. If you aren't eating or you're in between courses, it's okay to rest your elbows on the table. There is no elbow rule, only applies when utensils are in. So if are in use. So if you are done eating, then you can relax. But if you're not, but you have to be careful whether the table is good or is bad, so you don't get to scatter everything that is on the table. But then if you're done eating, because of space, imagine you're eating and all your elbows are on the table, it's going to consume a lot of space, and your plate is there and every other thing is there. Now you're not trying to consider the two people that are on your left and on your right. So you have to make sure you avoid that. The next, you eat slowly and with your mouth closed. Now I'm going to really, really make emphasis on this. You don't chew like, okay, let me not say that, but then you eat slowly. And you should close your mouth, because imagine sitting facing one another and you're eating with your mouth open. You know, the person can't help it but get irritated. Yeah, sometimes some people feel like, oh, but this person is rude just because I'm eating. You're trying to look down on me, or you're trying to talk to me anyhow. But at the end of the day, when you check it well, it's definitely your fault. Because how will you be eating, facing each other? We are eating, we are not singing, or we're not really doing something different. And you know, people are not the same. Some people get irritated easily. And while others, they don't even mind, because it's like, okay, they don't even see that as a problem. But to be honest with you, it is entirely a big deal. So you have to try not to show anyone your food as you chew. If you want to say something, finish what's in your mouth and swallow before speaking up. Eat your food slowly and one bite at a time to avoid wolfing anything down. The same goes for drinking. Try to take small sip and avoid slurping or splashing your drink. And last on my list today on our dear dining etiquette, which is the most important thing that you have to learn when you find yourself out there. It's not all the time. You don't eat alone always. Sometimes you go out for events, sometimes you go out for weddings, and imagine you looking all fine, like, you know, you're looking like one odogu fine man, you know, or you're looking like so yummy, so beautiful as a perfect young lady, very beautiful with your nice outfit, and you're eating clumsy. That man that you're eyeing, or that lady that you're eyeing, trust me, they will not look at you again. So you have to really be intentional. Then last on our list, then you take part in the conversation. When there's a conversation, don't just mute. Don't sound dull. Make sure that you have to be there now, because, you know, that is what really attracts people today. A lot of people that are waiting for you to say the first thing that comes out of your mouth. They will rate you with that. But and if you're quiet, people will be curious, will just ask you, oh, Annamel, why are you quiet? And that will put you in a spot, because everyone wants to hear your point of view, and they'll be like, okay, what do you think about this? And maybe you don't have anything to say. You can pick words. If you are even lost and you don't know the conversation, you can ask questions. And at the end of the day, if you're trying to find the perfect thing to say, you know, sometimes someone says your mind, and then you just say, okay, in addition to what this one said, and I want to say this and say that. So when you're in a dinner and there's a conversation, you should get involved. A dinner party is about more than just food. As you eat, be sure to talk to the other guests around you and join in the topic of conversation. Be sure to chew and swallow your food thoroughly before you start talking, and listen attentively to those around you. If you don't know the people sitting next to you, introduce yourself and ask them how they know the host. That should be enough to get a lively conversation going, and that will make that person sitting next to you feel welcome, feel comfortable with you. Imagine you said, oh, I'm just a person and this, that. You know, it makes the person open up and, okay, this person is cool, and it's someone that I feel is a go-to at this point. I can converse with them and relate with them. And of course, you have to take part in the conversation. So for today, I'm going to be putting a stop here. I hope you remember all of this etiquette. And I guess from time to time, we should do this, because it's very, very important that this etiquette, dinner etiquette, sticks to our head, because they are really, really important. You don't know tomorrow. You don't have to be eating all the time in the comfort of your space. Sometimes you go out, and these are things that you should be very, very intentional about. Thank you for staying with me today here on Lunch Global. I hope you had fun. And if you still want to learn more, you can go to our social media platforms to see more and learn more and listen more, so you don't get to forget about it. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. I am still Chung Annamel Joseph. Bye.